everybody. We did a chicken processing class on Saturday. We had 10 people sign up and show up for it. Had an amazing day. Did 24 meat birds from McMurray Hatchery. They're McMurray's Big Red broilers. And you'll have to forgive me, I did not get weights on any of these. We were so busy doing everything else. I actually just got done parting a couple more birds out that were mine. Got video of it. I'll show you how to part a bird out, how to use the VacMaster chamber sealer to seal these birds. It was an awesome day. People came away with the knowledge of, if they were going to get meat birds, how to raise these meat birds, how to care for them, do all that stuff up until the day of processing. And we showed them how to process these birds start to finish. Everybody did at least one bird. A lot of people did 2 and 3 birds. We showed them how to keep the bird whole if you wanted that, to do a roaster, and then also how to part these birds out. I've got a little bit of video. Stick with me and I'll show you how I part my birds out. That's just the way I do it. There's no right or wrong way. Stick with me and then I'll show you how to do this. Don't forget, if you want a vacuum, if you want a chamber sealer or knives, VacMaster makes some amazing knives. Let me find one. There's one of their knives. This is a semi-stiff 6-inch boning knife. They've got all different ones. There is a 8-inch breaking knife. They're awesome knives. I've actually switched. I was using Victorinox, but I've switched to pretty much all VacMaster knives. But you got the coupon code Homestead will save you 15% on all your stuff from VacMaster, and I'll have my affiliate link in the description. Hope you liked the video. I've got a bunch of B-roll footage and stuff like that of the processing class, so stick around and you'll learn a lot. All right, guys, we just did our first chicken class the other day. Did it on Saturday. Had 10 people here, and we did 24 chickens. I'm going to show you on this video how to take a whole chicken, part it out, and that's the way I like to do it. I kept one whole for the family. We don't do a lot of roasting chickens, so I want to part everything out, but I'm going to show you in this video how to part this joker out. This one has already been gutted. Typically, if I'm going to part one out, I don't gut it. So what I typically do, starting on this, on your thighs and your legs, I will come in and cut the skin and cut down and pull that across. Same thing on the other side, just cut the skin and then bend those thighs down, and it acts like a kickstand where now it doesn't move around. And I found it's easier if you pull. I like skinless breast, so I go ahead and pull the skin off the breast. All right, now what we're gonna do, there's your breast. You'll find your bone in here. Take your knife and ride right along that bone all the way down. And then essentially, once you've got there, you just take the tip of your knife and work that breast and a chicken finger, or your rib meat is usually what they call it. You can just work right down along through there. There's one of your chicken breasts. These birds came from McMurray Hatchery. They were the ones that we had at the festival, the chicks. And we ended up butchering these. They were 14 weeks old when we butchered them. And they were McMurray's Big Red broilers is what they were. There's another nice breast. And it's also got the rib meat with it, what they call the chicken finger. I'm just going to keep it whole and keep them whole that way. The knife I'm using, this is a 6-inch stiff. This is a stiff. Yeah, they'll call it a stiff. They've got a more flexible one, but these are from VacMaster. You can go to VacMaster's website, use my affiliate link, and get 15% off with the code HOMESTEAD. Now what we're going to do is come in on the wings. What I typically do is cut on each side of the wing down to where I hit the bone, and then you can exploit that, find your joint, and just slide it right in there. There's your wing. There's still got a couple feathers here and there, but that's no big problem. We can take care of those. Same thing on the other side. There's a couple little feathers here and there. No big deal, we can pull those off. There's your chicken wings. We're gonna do essentially the same thing on the thighs. Is I come in on each side and cut until I hit the bone, come back across, and then you can exploit that joint and slide your knife right in between there. And then that way you're not cutting any bone or anything like that. You can see, I want to keep these quarters like this with the leg and the thigh together. Same thing on this. Exploit that joint, then you can slide your knife right in between that joint. And there you go. We'll take the carcass and feed the pigs. So what we got is our thighs, our wings, and our 2 breasts, and a stray feather. All right, guys, that's it. That's how I break down a chicken into pieces with mine. Will the VacMaster 320 handle a whole chicken? These are chickens we did Saturday. I want to seal a whole chicken in the VP 320. I think we won. It did it.
Every time you dunk it, the water will splash out and have to relight it.
But once it gets going, like once we get going, we'll get through them pretty quick. So they actually have attachments that you can buy on Amazon that have these. If you look in here, it's got like these little finger nipple things or rubber. They have attachments that you can buy that have those on them that go on a drill. So you could get your bird hot and then use a drill and go over that, and it pulls the feathers out. And the first time I saw it, I was like, I don't even know how that would work. But I actually have several friends that have those, and they do like 5 or 6 birds at a time instead of. One of these is somewhere between, depending on the model that you get, it's somewhere between $400 and $600. If you were, like if you lived close to some people, you could share the cost and go in. Actually, the one that we bought when we first bought our homestead, we split with our oldest daughter, and then we process meat birds with it. But they do have those smaller ones that go on a drill that you can get on Amazon that aren't near as expensive.
The Yardbird did. I've got pieces of notebook or cards. They did. I think it's 10 or 15% off things for you if you want to order something from Yardbird.
Yeah.
So I got those in the shop. Yeah, there's other people that make poultry and stuff, but I'm sold on the other stuff. Come on up! You made it!
Finally, it's like what do you want?
Tell me.
Oh, you did.
It needs to be between 150 and 170. These gloves are really handy to hold it down under the water. Tail feathers are in there. Where the butt is. They're fine. You just want to make sure the whole body's submerged. If y'all want to come look at it, you can. You don't have to stand over there. Because they're like the strongest ones. Ooh, that's hot. It's not good. All right.
Turn the water on. You want to switch it up?
This one? Put it in there a little bit longer.
Yeah.
There's the kind of how to judge this. If you leave it in there too long, it'll start ripping skin. So you don't want it in there so long that it does that.
Most of those put right on the ground.
That water is cold. Normally you don't have Normally you're gonna cut the head like right below this. That came off in the plucker, so. But you can make an incision. You want to get as far down to the neck as you can. You can make an incision and then break it. I'm not even good at that. I can't ever do that. So that's one of the times Randy said that we use the poultry shears to cut the neck. So I get it where I want it to be. And I cut it all the way around. And then I'm just going to take these and cut. Right like that. Now, the neck is another one of those things that if you want to keep those and cook them up, you can put them in the freezer. There's actually some meat that will come off of this.
And it's good.
Yeah, it's not bad. But you can cook it up and make bone broth or make chicken and dumplings or whatever with that. If you're doing a whole big batch, I wouldn't get rid of that. I would keep it. If I was just doing one or two, I'd probably pitch it. So next we're gonna go in this way and cut out and eviscerate it and get everything out. So it depends on if you're a skin person or not a skin person. Kind of depends on what you're cooking. Like she said earlier, if you want to make chicken and dumplings, you want skin, right? If you don't care if there's a lot of skin left, then it doesn't matter where you cut this. But when you're getting ready to eviscerate it, you want to cut back as far as you can. And if you guys want to come up around, it might be better. You might see better. You want to cut back as far as you can, because if you cut up here close to this bone right here, your skin is going to ride up the breast, and you're not going to have a lot of coverage. But again, if you don't care about skin, it doesn't matter. But out, and I'm lightly cutting because I do not want to cut the intestines. Okay? So I'm pulling this out, getting what I need.
So you're just trying to get through the skin, right?
Yes. Now, everybody, come look at this. You see that yellow that's up in there? Mm-hmm. That is fat. And a lot of times, if you butcher chickens and they have a lot of yellow fat, that's a result of them eating a lot of corn, which is fine. But sometimes people freak out when they start seeing colored stuff, especially if they go to a class and you're like, those chickens didn't have that in it. It's not that big a deal. It's what their diet is. So I'm going to try to get in here. Again, I'm not wanting to cut. I just want to get into this cavity. I don't want to cut the intestines. Okay? And you can see the intestines in there. I'll swing that around. See them? You want to keep that all intact. You also want to keep, so this is their hind end, and you want to keep all of that connected when you start cutting that out. So at this point, I usually flip the bird over, and I'm going to cut right here. There's a gland, this fat part right here on their tail, there's a gland right here. You want to get above that, because you know when you go to the store, you don't see this little hind end thing there. It's easy to cut right through the tailbone, and I'm going to cut around this, and then cut on this side, and then I'm going to flip it back over. And I want to come up, so this is their pelvic bone. I want to come up inside of that pelvic bone. And then on this side. And so whenever you're butchering an animal, any animal, remember small cuts, small mistakes. So if you go in and you start hacking, if you make a mistake, it's usually a big mistake. So I'm going to cut. I just want to detach all of this tail from everything. All right, I think I'm detached. Okay, so this is the rectum. It's hooked up to that end right there. All of that stuff inside. Let me make this a little bit bigger so I can get up in there. And I'm just going to put my hand up in there and start pulling stuff out.
And it's better if you got small hands. If you got big hands, it's like
Mike,
hard to get
this
in.
right here,
What's me?
most of it, turn up the other way.
You know, like little bitty kid hands.
Keep the liver and stuff. And that smell, is that from the chicken? Alright. He loves chicken hands and chicken livers.
I'm taking all this because I'm gonna feed the
All right,
chicken feed the dogs. Let them chew on it, and I'll take the rest of the feed.
the heart. Some people like chicken heart. This is the liver. This is the gallbladder. You don't want that. And if you cut that, it's going to have green, funky stuff in there that you do not want on your meat. But if you like chicken livers, that's this part. If you like chicken gizzards, I love chicken gizzards. I have not, out of all the birds that I've killed, I've not done my own gizzards. But I want to show this to you. So do you all know what a gizzard is for? It grinds up the food. So when you're feeding your chickens, you need to make sure that they're getting grit. And if you have them out free ranging, they're probably getting grit. It's just little rocks that they're picking up. Those rocks go into this gizzard, and this is a muscle, and it grinds up their food so they're able to digest their food. With chicks, they've got chick grit. They've got to have rocks in this thing to grind up their food. So let's just cut it open and see.
We've got ours in the chicken tractor.
Yeah.
We need to supply grit.
Probably not. As long as they're moving around and in new places, you're probably good to go. But if you notice that they're having a problem digesting their food, that may be an issue. I mean, that may be something you need to look at. So if I open this up, you see it's got grass, there's rocks in there. This is where the food goes. When they eat it, it goes into their crop, and then it moves into the gizzard, and it gets ground up. And then just like us, our stomach grinds up or digests everything with fluids. That then goes into their intestines where they absorb all the nutrients that they need. So if you're going to keep these to eat, you just got to cut it open and clean all that stuff out. And then you can freeze them or saute them, marinate them, whatever you're going to do with them. I usually go to a restaurant and get them because I've never been able to cook them and make them taste right. So, all right. So back to the bird. We've got... Let's see, this needs to come off, which is just like the windpipe. So that's pretty much it. You can see the inside. I'm going to drop this into a cooler where it's going to cool for about a half hour.
But these have already, the thighs and legs have already spread apart. So what you can do is come in, typically they're like this. So what you'll want to do, the skin's holding everything on. So what you want to do is come in with your knife and just cut the skin, and it'll fold a little bit, and then you can take it and just pop, and it'll dislocate that joint right there. And you can feel that joint's dislocated now. So all I'm going to do is trim along that joint, and it's totally loose right now. So what we can do is you want to get it broke like that, and then it's going to stand up on its own. So then that way you can take all your breast off.
Crystal.
So typically, I'll peel the skin off the breast anyway, because when we do breast, we're doing skinless. So what you want to do, there's your center, your rib cage, is I come in and just start and find that rib cage and run right along it. And I'm running just right along that rib cage. And you can come down. And the thing is, having a sharp knife, I usually use my thumb and use just a little bit of pressure, and it almost just peels right out. Just the tip of your knife going in, and you can hear that, it's just riding on that bone. And that actually comes off with the rib meat, because the rib meat is right in there, but that's came off with the rib meat. The chicken tender is what they call it. Unless you go to Zaxby's now, and Zaxby's takes chicken breast and cut them. He calls them chicken tenders. We'll do the same thing. Run along that bone. Even though it got a little beat up, it'll still eat. So now we got the breast off. So we got our wings and our thighs and our legs. So we've already got this dislocated. So we can come in right along there on that joint.
Hot tub. Didn't they get a massage?
And there's
Didn't they get a pedicure over there?
mangled up wing and thigh. I'll show you. If anybody wants their birds parted out, we've got plenty of birds. I'll part one out that's still got its skin and everything. But there's a thigh and a leg.
You get the setting, the right setting, like it should say something. I'll probably weigh down low in this.
And you see that just fits in almost like a ball in a cup. And once you cut all the meat around it, you can kind of flip it just a little and it comes right off. Then with the wings, same thing. There's a joint right up there. And you don't have to cut through that joint, you just cut where it's together. And then you got your drumstick and your other piece. You can take, some people will take, I like to, go ahead and take that wing tip off.
202 now. There's one.
And then you can go, if you want to keep them that way, you can cook them that way, or you can come in. I typically will take them, cut down through, and then you can find that joint. And you almost break it and then find it. And you got two chicken wings. There's your chicken. And then that's the way I do it, to part them out, just because I don't like the whole thing. If you want to cut some more meat off this, you can. Typically, there's not much. I mean, that's just a little thin membrane of meat that separates the chest cavity. But you see, I would rather take that and make bacon with it by feeding it to the pigs. So that's what I'm going to do with it. So, y'all ready to do your own? Yeah.
There's something about keeping the spinal cord attached to it to make sure the heart's not going to pump all the blood out.
It's been so stinking wet.
That's why I don't cut the head.
Yeah, and I mean, there's been been so much rain, my wife's like, big stink, and I was like, I know.
You sever that spinal cord, then all the blood stops working. Look myself in the face.
That one's a fighter.
What'd you say?
I don't know, there's a fighter.
This one did too. It is hot.
That not only own cowboy boots, and I want to know that was
Put some water into the feathers for between the feathers and the skin.
Put that over the top. Yeah. Put the, what hand you gonna cup? Your right hand?
I need to get this thing restarted.
Any questions, just ask me.
And then that way y'all's are clean, and then we don't have to worry
Yep,
about.
no, you're right, very lightly. Don't cut in there too deep.
I'm weird about it when we're butchering stuff. I'm like, clean. Like when we do a pig out there, we'll take a pig, shoot it down there, bring it up with the tractor, we hose the stupid thing down, real good. You always got some
And then I don't know what you went to next.
clean them off as good as
Where
we
did you go
can.
to next? The tail. Okay, the
Right
tail.
above that bump.
That's still an oil gland. They take oil the feathers.
Okay.
Oh, he
You
pooped.
didn't want to do that.
We just need.
All right.
Okay, now I know.
You're fine. You're fine.
Now I know.
So, yeah, do that.
Well, I won't never stop. I just keep on going.
So we got to cut
Right there.
you want, I'll hold this. If you want to lightly or gently cut so you don't get the intestines.
You remember, Sonya, you remember what I did?
Man, that,
Where is she?
that's
on the
my
phone, sweet
solution. My wife is like, do not come home
She's
from
a
that freezer.
Farm Bureau agent.
He does the same thing, and I'm like, come home with
Always on the phone.
Now, what I'm going to do for processing and everything, we're going to build probably an 8x8.
Oh, that chicken does not smell
It's going to be
good.
on skids.
That whole thing
It's
down
all
here.
going to be weatherproof where it's
Down to
set
the
outside. What I'm going to do is have it where I can pick it up in my bobcat, move it wherever I want to. So like the day before we're going to do the pig,
Oh, there we go.
set it
Okay,
over
now
here,
I've learned.
plug it in,
Now, you want to pull all that stuff out.
hang everything, and come back the next day.
Will you catch my towel, please? Thank you.
Sorry. Your first service.
Yes, the little hands. I don't have little hands.
I'll hold it and you pull it out. Want me to try?
For mine.
I know. You're doing fine.
I mean, I know what I've never got these bugs on my hands. I'm gonna mess up the down by
Feet first.
Feet and neck, and then
I'm not getting the nut for it.
you're getting it.
Plenty of water in the refrigerator in there. If anybody wants water or Cokes, whatever, help yourself.
More? Yeah, you've got to completely, so you want this thing right here that's hanging, which is part of the rectum, you want everything cut around that. Attached. So underneath it, don't cut the rectum, just cut everything around it. Then you're going to be able to go like this. Okay, how does that? And everything's attached so that you can have the one little piece right here on this side that's still attached.
I'm gonna keep, she's gonna keep these.
They are. Well, so this is the thing. This is how I see it. You are taking a life
Oh, yeah.
to sustain yourself, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's what they were put here for. But if you get to the point that like doesn't faze you, then you probably shouldn't be doing that anymore.